Well, today is a unique one on That's Classic. Today, I have somebody that we've been trying to get together. We've been trying to figure things out, but we finally did. I'm actually at his home, and we're going to shoot it today. And this gentleman starred on Father Knows Best. He played Bud, and he has done a million other movies and stuff. I can't wait to talk to him. Billy Gray, and here's Billy. I'm literally turning it to him. Hey, Billy.
Here I am. And I think
Here we are.
I think that's just about right.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Perfect. So, Billy, just to start off with, I appreciate that you're here, but also, do you remember, by the way, your audition for Father Knows Best, or was there an audition?
There was. As a matter of fact, I was told that they looked at everybody in town for this part. And the show was originally on radio. Robert Young and Eugene B. Rodney, his producer partner, had it on radio for like 4 or 5 years, I think. I never heard it. But then when they decided to bring it to television, the only person they could find or the only company that had a time slot and wanted the show was P. Lorillard. It was Kent Cigarettes was the sponsor. And when the show was on radio, the title was Father Knows Best with a question mark at the end of it. And the interesting thing is that Robert Young told me that he fought to keep the question mark, but that it was a deal breaker for Kent Cigarettes. They didn't want any ambiguity at all. They wanted a declarative statement, Father Knows Best, period.
Wow, really?
Very interesting. Huh? They just turned his whole concept on its head, And he said, he told me he fought to keep it, but they were adamant about losing the question mark.
Yeah, because that changes the whole dynamic
Absolutely.
of what that means.
I think he was thinking when he had the question mark on there, something along the lines of "To thy own self be true," and that's Shakespeare from advice to a young man who was leaving home or something, and that was above all things, to thy own self be true. I love that.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. So because Robert Young, I know, as you said, developed it with the other gentleman you just mentioned,
Eugene B. Rodney. Yeah.
So was he involved then directly in casting you?
Actually, he left all those details to Rodney. He came to the set as an actor, just as an actor. He never. I mean, if I hadn't known that it was his show, you couldn't tell him from anybody else as far as being one of the crew. He never said, this is my show and yada yada yada. No, he was just a professional actor and dealt with the rest of us as if we were his peers. And I really appreciated that. He never presumed to be fatherly to me or anything like that. I'd been acting for 10 years or so before this came up, and this was just an interview like every other interview I went on, and then we did a test, I guess in the set around the kitchen table, and I think everybody was already cast. I'm not sure. Yeah, it was everybody that was in the show was in this test, and then we did it, and it was interesting. I'd been working since I was 5, so over the years, the way it works is you work for $25 a day, and then the next job you try and get $30 a day, and then after that you try and get $35. Over the years, I'd worked my salary up to $500 a week.
Wow.
Which was pretty good money in those days.
A lot of money.
And so that was the way we were going into this, except for the day of the court. The court has to approve contracts of a minor. And so the day that we were there for the approval of the court, a lawyer came to my mom and said, "Now we're going to shoot this thing differently than we had planned. We're going to shoot 2 episodes in 1 week." and we'd like to pay you $250 per episode, but it'll be the same as your salary because we'll be just working the whole week, you know. And so my mom said okay, and I was like 16 or something. So I didn't even know about it really. So we did that for about the first, I guess 8 or 10 episodes, and then it turned out that that wasn't going to work because we couldn't finish 2 shows in 1 week, and it turned out that we started doing 1 a week, and I ended up getting my salary cut in half.
Oh my gosh.
Basically, yeah, which is kind of unfortunate. I've got to give the producer credit for being a sly guy, because he was a very good producer. He made sure that everything was done really top notch, but he was a little too sharp by half on my salary. So I kind of went along with it for a while, and then eventually I said, I can't live with this anymore. I'm not coming in Monday unless you do the right thing. And this was years later, though, you know.
Yeah.
And so he upped my salary after a while, but I had to be an ugly person to pull it off.
Welcome to Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I'm not so sure Robert Young knew anything about it. He left all the production stuff to Rodney, and Rodney really did do a good job in that regard. You know?
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you've been asked this a million times, but really, what was Robert Young like? I mean, we hear, you know,
very, very professional. He, like I say, he never. I wouldn't have known that it was his show. He was just one of the actors, and a pretty good one. As a matter of fact, he never didn't know his lines or acted as if he was above the whole thing somehow. And I never knew this at the time either, but he apparently had a drinking problem. Mm-hmm. And you couldn't tell it by me because he was sharp as a tack every time, you know. But he did apparently. I think he locked himself in a garage at one point and turned the car on, and then just was saved from that. But he did have a drinking problem that never. I never knew about it on the set, but that was the reality of it.
I saw you in an interview, I'm pretty sure it was an interview or it was an article, that said that you were like, look, there were times when we were doing a scene together and he was holding on to me so strong. I was like, what's going on?
That was odd. That was about the only odd thing. I couldn't figure out why he would grip me so strong. I mean, it didn't hurt or anything, but it was just harder than normally would, you know, when you're holding somebody, you don't really hold them that tight, you know. Right. So maybe he was studying himself. For all I know, I don't really know, but that was odd. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. What about obviously Jane Wyatt? I mean, to everybody outside, you know, looking in, she looked like the perfect mom.
Yeah.
What was she like?
She was wonderful, and she was always concerned that she wasn't acting right somehow. She was concerned that she wasn't fulfilling the what was needed, and I think she did a wonderful job. We went round and round. I'm non-religious to the point of being an atheist actually, and she's a devout Catholic. So we went round and round on that pretty early on, and but we eventually decided that we would agree to disagree, and we became really, really close, tight friends. After the show was over with, she'd invite me out to events to be on her arm, basically. She was a member of the Academy, so she'd get invites to see movies that were nominated, and she'd invite me with her. And she was a theatrical play person, and she would take me to plays that she would go to, So we really hit it off. She was a really wonderful lady. In fact, she made arrangements that I was to be one of her pallbearers at her demise, and I'm not really big on that kind of thing, but I was honored to do that, and it was very appropriate because we were really close.
Mm. That must have been. I mean, I realize whether you're atheist or Catholic, whatever, to be a pallbearer at anyone's funeral is hard. That must have been difficult for you either way, I imagine.
Yeah. Well, I remember she used to invite me over to her house for tea from time to time, and I remember the last time I saw her, as I was leaving, I kissed her on the forehead. She was infirm at that point. She had oxygen, and she used to say, "Getting old isn't for sissies," and she was right. I'm not too happy about getting old myself, but I remember kissing her on the forehead, and I didn't usually do that. I mean, but looking back on it, I guess I was saying goodbye, and sure enough, I was.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that's awesome. I mean, that's just a gift. To have somebody that enters your life like that as a co-star and becomes that. That's cool. And then, of course, we've got Elinor Donahue, which, by the way, I kind of cracked up. I saw an interview. I mean, I did a ton of research on you. I saw an interview where she said that you actually had asked her out on a date when you guys kind of
I think I might have hit on her, yeah. I think I might have. She was I think a year older than me, and I kind of I was not dating material as far as she was concerned.
So what was your relationship like with her?
Oh, it was good. As a matter of fact, the whole set was really wonderful. It just ran along as smoothly as possible, and one of the reasons was because Robert Young was a movie star, and he owned the show, and his partner was the producer. We shot this thing as if we were shooting a movie. No shortcuts that ordinarily happened in TV production in those years. Like, hey, it's fight night tonight. Let's get out of here.
Right.
So none of that. It was all top. I mean, if something wasn't exactly right, we'd do it again. There was no limit on the amounts of times we'd try something. 8 or 10 takes was not particularly unusual. And although I was pretty good at that kind of thing, I got the what do you call it? Nickname, I guess you'd call it, is the first take Greg. So I'm kind of proud of that, because I did just kind of come down and do it.
Yeah, it's funny because Elinor, in another interview that I saw, she said, not to say that everyone else wasn't a good actor, but Billy was a great actor, and she said that about you.
Sweet.
And
that's sweet.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. On the other side of the coin, which I thought was funny, is she said that you would be off to the side sometimes. She'd be doing her scenes, and you'd be like having your eyes roll up, or you would give her a hard time. Is that true?
I did do that a little bit, yeah. It was kind of unprofessional of me, certainly, but there it is. But she's a good sport.
Yeah. And of course, Lauren Chapin.
Yeah.
What was your relationship with her?
Well, we were great friends. She later in life, she got into some religious thing that was kind of off-putting to me, called Namyo Renyoko, I think. There was and it was some kind of thing where you'd imagine or you'd image something that you wanted, and then you say this mantra, and then all of a sudden magically it would happen.
Huh.
And she was trying to get me to get into it, and I that didn't go over very well.
Yeah, but, I get it.
But apparently she's actually made a life of being an evangelist. She goes to places and speaks, and she's big on Christ.
Wow. What during the time that you were shooting the show, what was it like offset? You know, like the cameras aren't rolling. What was it like offset? Did you guys all hang together, or what was the
Actually,
deal?
no. I was kind of into just napping whenever I had, half hour or so. I just closed my eyes and just, be somewhere else. But the attitude on the set was really pretty well, totally professional. We hired not me, Rodney hired the best people. We had a really good camera operator, Victor was his name, and spoke with a deep accent.
Yeah.
And but he was dynamite and hardly ever screwed up. Like he'd say, "I need another one," if he didn't have the framing just the way he wanted it. And the sound people were the top people in the industry, and the lighting people were the top people. So we just breezed along, but not at a fast pace, but at a pace that was commensurate with getting the job done. It was we took an awful lot of time. Some TV shows they actually could do 2 shows in a week, but not the way we were working. It just didn't work that way. And I think eventually we had some shows that took 7 days just to do the one show. And we worked Saturdays, by the way, in those days.
Wow.
And so it was, and it was long hours too. It was 10 hours, 12 hours a day, not that unusual either. And that kind of rubbed me the wrong way too, because being a minor, it's against the law to work overtime.
Yeah.
And I was working overtime and wasn't getting paid overtime because they didn't want to put down that I was, doing overtime, because that was against the law. So I got screwed over a little bit business-wise on the show, and I've got a little bit of a bitter attitude about that, frankly.
I think you're a human being. I think I get it.
I don't feel bad about it.
No,
Let's put it that way.
I know. I mean, I think everybody out there's like, I get them.
Yeah.
What other shows were shooting around where you were shooting?
Yeah, there was another show on the lot. I think it was Paul Peterson.
The Donna Reed show.
Donna Reed show. I think it might have been the Donna Reed show that was shooting at Columbia around the same time. And I never met Paul. I met him later in life. But I didn't know him as a kid actor. I didn't know many. I could take that back. Dean Stockwell was a friend of mine, and Russ Tamblyn was a friend. Bobby Blake, who doesn't like to be called Bobby, by the way.
Yeah.
Is he still around, or
He's not.
He passed.
Unfortunately, he did pass about, I want to say, within the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was a buddy, and Bobby Driscoll too.
Oh, wow.
We all kind of hung out, a gang of young Rat Pack, basically.
Well, what the heck? I never stay on course on this interview anyway. What was Dean Stockwell like at that time? Each of these guys.
He was a better gin player than me. We played gin, and he invariably won, and much to my chagrin. But we were close. We had this mutual friend, Wally Berman, and he was a better gin player than both of us, and an artist guy.
Sounds familiar, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he's pretty. He didn't look for fame, but it came to him because he was an exceptional person, basically. And between Dean and myself losing a gin to him, we kind of kept him alive. We paid his rent basically with our losings.
Wow.
But Wally was a super person, one of the exceptional people that I've ever run across, and we all of us, Bobby Driscoll and Blake and Dean and Russ and myself, we all kind of bowed to Wally.
Mm-hmm.
He was something else.
Now Russ, am I right that, and I might be getting this wrong, and somebody will write in about it, believe me. But Russ, did he commit suicide?
No, in fact he's having medical issues.
Oh, that's it.
Still.
Yeah, I apologize. For
No,
anybody.
no,
I knew there was something going on.
He's fighting something now, as a matter of fact. But I've had my brush with the medical industry, and I was laying back watching television and had my hands on my chest, and I just felt around and I said, what's that thing? And I found a little pea-sized bump in my tit area.
Yeah.
And so I went to a doctor and said, what do you think? He said, well, don't know. What do you want to do with it? I said, well, let's take it out, And so we took it out. We did a lumpectomy.
Yeah.
And turns out it was cancer.
Wow.
Yeah, and so the doctor said, you gotta get the rest of the tissue out of there. So I lost one tit.
Wow.
And then a couple of months later, I felt almost exactly the same thing on the other side.
Oh my gosh.
So I went and had that done too. And fortunately I got it when they were just itty bitty little guys.
Yeah.
And none of it had spread to my lymph nodes.
Oh
and
my God.
That apparently is a bad sign.
Yeah, that's when they say it's really bad.
Yeah, but we got it before that. And this was years and years and years ago. And I kind of look at it, well, I never hardly ever used my tits anyway, so it's not really an issue for me. But
Hey, what about Bobby Blake at that time?
Yeah, Bobby, he really came through for me. After I stopped doing Father Knows Best, I got into speedway racing.
Yeah.
And I did that for a few years, and then got the opportunity to promote a race up in Bakersfield. I took over the track up there after the promoter had died, and so I took it over with a concept that I had in my mind for a long time called Diamond Speedway, whereas the infield is not an oval like it is in normal racetrack. I had just 2 points at the apex of the turns, and then they go out to where the middle of the straightaway. So it was a diamond infield.
Okay, I see.
And what I was trying to avoid was just to follow the leader, because ordinarily the race too often was just there's a start, and then everybody's in line, and you can hold it right on the pole and go around the pole, and the only way to go around you is to go outside of you, and wasn't usually enough dirt out there to make it happen. So the races were just kind of ho-hum. So my concept was to eliminate the ability to block the pole with this diamond concept. And so I put on some races up there, and I asked Bob, who was a big hit right about that time with the show where he had the
Beretta?
Yeah, Beretta.
Yeah.
And he very graciously came up to Bakersfield and gave out the trophy to the winner.
Wow.
And I was able to advertise that he was going to be there, and so he came through for me. I needed some help. My partner was he was a local guy, and I had left all the business parts of it to him. And I assumed that he was putting in $1,500 a week into advertising. Well, he was putting $1,500 a week in his pocket.
In his pocket, yeah.
And the crowd wasn't as robust as I would have liked, and so that's the reason I leaned on Bob to come through for me, and he did, and I gotta give him credit for that.
Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool. And what about Bobby Driscoll?
Bobby Driscoll gave me the gift of a lifetime. He was about a year or so older than me, and he said you sit down, you got to hear this. And he played a Bach's Brandenburg Concerto No. 5 for me. I forget who the artist was. It might have been Landowski, and it might have been Gould, though I'm not sure now. I've come to think of it. But at any rate, it changed my life. I never took any music serious that wasn't Bach after that. Vivaldi but that era, the Baroque era, and I've got everything that Bach has recorded, as a matter of fact, and have worn out multi versions of the musical offering and Art of the Fugue, and I mean it just goes on and on and on. The guy was, a genius's genius, and and I got to thank Bobby Driscoll for that, because I would have never, well, I might have eventually gotten to Bach, but he was the guy that turned me on to it, and actually it's been something that has filled my life with joy to the point of nothing else. I mean, if I had a well, let's see, how should I put it? Well, it's my desert island choice.
Yeah.
If I just had Bach, I'd be very happy.
That's pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
That is. All right, we circle back to Father Knows Best. The reunion movies. How did you feel coming back?
That was interesting. I heard about it, and they wanted to give me a salary that I didn't think was appropriate. I thought I deserved more.
How shocking!
Yeah. And I probably still held a little grudge, from the get-go on the thing. But this was a whole different. This was I forget there was a lady producer, and she didn't. I don't think she ever watched the show even. She didn't know that I really was an important part of the show.
No kidding.
They went out of their way to write for Bud, the character Bud, more so than the girls, or even Young and Wyatt. They had episodes that were centered on them, but Bud had primarily most of the episodes seemed to be pointed at Bud.
Not a doubt about it. I agree 100% with you.
And so I thought I deserved a little extra something,
Yeah.
And this lady, I forget what her name is now. Damn, what is her name? Anyway, she said she's threatened to go another direction.
Oh, come on.
And so I said, great, you do that. And so I passed on it originally, and then they came back with some. They pumped it up a little bit.
Yeah. And
they made Bud into a professional speedway racer.
Great.
Which is something that I did after the show.
Exactly.
And I think that was an inducement that I couldn't turn down, really.
Right.
So I had a little piece of film on me, and I suggested that they use it in the show, and they did. They wrote it into the show, and so there's a little scene where I've got the family sitting around, and I'm showing a 16 millimeter of my race, and I'm doing the voiceover on the race, and it came out really nice.
But it's really you.
Yeah, and it's really me, and I did win the race. And
wow.
And I went around everybody, and so I got to be my own cheerleader. It turned out well.
Did they know before they came back to you that he's into speedway racing already?
Yeah,
okay.
they did.
Okay. Know. Yeah, I figured. That's pretty cool. What else did you? So coming back, you settle that, you come back, you get back on the set, and there you are with everybody. What was that like for you? I mean, it had been a good 15...
That was like a week had gone by, and here we are back doing the same thing we did last week. It was incredible. It was 17 years, I think, had gone.
Yeah, you are correct.
And Elinor had the same sensation, that it was just like no time had elapsed. It was weird. It was kind of. They made a mistake. In that they shot it on videotape, and it's a very subtle difference, but we shot it on 35 millimeter film, and the editing was,
Yeah.
But I think they figured they could save a little money shooting it on videotape, and it just wasn't the same.
No.
I can't put my finger on and say that's why it's different, but it is different.
Well, there's a depth.
There's something intangible about it.
I agree. I totally agree.
And they didn't realize it and I think they did the same thing we did another one. That
Christmas one, right?
That one apparently got a 41 share, which apparently is pretty good number.
Yeah, right. Especially then.
Yeah. So they did another one a couple of years later, and I think they did that one on videotape too.
Wow. The one thing that I had looked up too is, I guess, the facade of the house, that you guys used.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that became like Major Nelson's house in I Dream of Jeannie and all these other ones.
Yeah.
Did you know all that?
It was no, I didn't know that, but I've heard it since then that they did use it a lot.
Yeah.
And it was a facade out on Columbia Ranch, they called it, out in Burbank, and it was just on a street, Maple Street, and I guess they used it a lot.
Yeah, the sad part about it is I think that they've now torn all that
Yeah,
down.
that's all gone now.
Why they didn't do something with it?
Yeah.
Come on. I don't know. So, let's see, I wanted to make sure, by the way, are you still in touch with Elinor and Lauren?
Yeah, we, as a matter of fact, I'm going to a thing called a chiller, which is where you sign pictures, and it's in New Jersey, and Lauren's going to be there. Elinor doesn't do those kind of things. She's living up in the high desert here, and we don't see each other very often, but we talk on the phone from time to time. And as well with Lauren too. She lives in Florida, so we don't really see each other that often, but we do keep in touch.
I love that you do. What do you feel like? I mean, are they, for lack of a better term, are they family kind of a little bit? Like, do you have that kind of bond?
Not really. No, because we were, with the exception of Lauren, we were all professional actors doing a job.
Yeah.
And people like to kind of, I don't know, romanticize it.
Of course.
But it really wasn't like that. It was a profession, and we all considered ourselves professionals, and so it never got into a family kind of thing. Except, well, for me and Jane Wyatt, we did get awfully close. Like I say, she was a very special person. And I thought it was so cute that she didn't think she was doing that good a job all the time. And
I mean, a legend.
Yeah.
Literally a legend. I just for the sake of us, I'm just going to look and make sure we're still. Yeah, we're doing great, actually. Look at that baby.
Still got some batteries left.
Still, as long as those numbers are moving, we're doing good.
Good.
So I had a question. Another thing that I read that I thought was so interesting is that you actually, I think you shot even a scene for Rebel Without a Cause. Is that right?
Yeah, I did a test with Natalie Wood, and I think it was Nick Adams was playing the Dean part in the test. In fact, there's a fan in Spain who says he has a copy of the test.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I keep saying, well, is there some way that I can get a copy of it? I'd love to see it. And as a matter of fact, it was Nick Ray was the director, and I had worked for Nick Ray as a kid when I was like 10 or 11 or something. On a Humphrey Bogart movie called In a Lonely Place.
Yes, definitely.
I was a kid at the entrance to a restaurant that he was going into, and I stop him and say, "Are you anybody?" Because I'm getting autographs, and he says, "No, I'm not anybody." But the guy was with Adolph Manchu or somebody. I forget who it was with. He says, "Here, talk to him." But I'd forgotten that I'd done it, and I'm watching television. I don't know, this is probably 30 years ago, but I'm watching television, and I like Bogart. I mean, who doesn't?
I love Bogart.
And so I said, "Hey, that's me." I'd forgotten that I'd done it. It was just a bit part, and I did literally hundreds of bit parts.
Oh yeah.
And so that one just went right by me. But then I don't know if Nick Ray remembered or not that we'd worked together, but I presume he did. You gotta presume that. But anyway, he interviewed me a couple of times for a Salminio's role.
Wow.
And said, "Yeah, you're my guy." And I went to get wardrobe and all that kind of stuff. But for some reason or other, they had to postpone their shooting schedule a couple of weeks. I think it was Dean's availability or something like that. And so they went and talked to Rodney and to see if they could, if Father Knows Best could shoot around me for a couple of weeks. And they said, nah, I don't think so. And so I missed out on that, working with James Dean. But
Wow.
as it turns out, it's probably a lucky thing. They're all dead now, you know?
Yeah, I know.
And,
it's kind of crazy. It
yeah,
really is.
yeah.
By the way, Natalie Wood, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
One, what was she like to see in person?
You know, I don't have any memory of of making the test at all.
Oh, wow.
And I guess I must have, because
Who's got it?
Yeah, it's on film. So
isn't that wild?
Yeah,
because she was gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and when you were watching the one on Bogey, by the way, did you even have any recollection of that one?
I didn't know who he was.
Yeah. He made over 200 movies.
Yeah.
I read.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, probably a good third of them were where I was this big, you know.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And I didn't get any lines to say until years into being an actor.
Yeah.
So I had bit part after bit part after bit part, you know. And so I think that's one of the reasons that Elinor could speak so favorably of my acting, was that I started when I was 5 years old. I mean, there's something wrong if you don't get good after you know, with that kind of a start, you know.
I agree. What God, what was I going to ask you? Oh, speaking of which, did you get into acting because your parents wanted you to, or did you get into it because you really wanted to do it?
Well, the story is, and it's kind of an odd one. I was running around the aisles of a theater that my older brother, was in a play, and this lady came up to me and said, "Take me to your mother." And the lady turned out to be my mother's agent, and Lola Moore, and Lola Moore said to my mom, "I can get this kid some work," and my mom said, "Sure, go for it." And so at 5, I started going on interviews and seemed to get them all. I just got every interview I went on. It was kind of a weird thing, but I loved it. I mean, people were treating you as if you were something, you know. I mean, not just a kid, but you know, you were eventually you were looked upon as a professional actor, even as a kid, you know, and you were there to do a job, and I appreciated the respect that I got from doing it. My mom gave me the best advice as about acting. She said, "Don't sound reedy." And for the first few years, that wasn't an issue because I wasn't getting any speaking roles anyway. But eventually, I did start to get roles where I had something to say, and I tried not to sound reedy. Yeah. As in, if you were reading.
Right. Yeah. Right. I get it. I totally get it. And she was an actress as well.
She was a very good actress, actually. I've seen her work. She worked mostly in westerns. She's a little girl, a little lady, and so she was opposite Bob Steele on several movies. He was a little guy too, and so they were opposite each other in probably half a dozen movies, and she worked also with Hoot Gibson and Johnny McBrown and movie western stars of the time. I don't think she. No, I worked with. I did a couple of westerns too. What's the guy's name? I can't think of his name now. But he was an actor and then went in the service and then came back and redid his acting thing. Gene, is it?
Gene Autry?
Gene Autry, yeah. Gene Autry. Yeah. And so I worked with a few of those people, but my mom was actually really pretty good actress. I've seen her work, and I'm impressed.
I read a little bit about her, and it said that she was. I happen to be an Abbott and Costello fan, and it said in one of them that she was an Abbott and Costello Meet the Killers with Boris Karloff. Is that true?
We both were in that movie.
You were in there too?
Yeah, I'm a little kid with the with a feather in his head, and I'm apparently I shot an arrow and it stuck in a post near Abbott and Costello, and then I come up to them and said, "Give me my arrow," and Abbott, no, it's Costello, tries to pull it out and can't pull it out, and so I give him an ugly look and pull out the arrow and then go. I think, I had like 2 lines or something, and my mom had she screamed in it, "Fire!" And that was her job.
Oh wow! Do you remember working with her?
No, I don't. I didn't. I didn't remember that at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah, there's an actor that I haven't released this episode yet either. His name Rich Carell, and he was Jerry Mather's best friend on Leave It to Beaver. But he happened to kind of grow up around all those guys, and so he had the chance to talk to Karloff, and that just happened, and he just said it was, what an amazing, you could take that in. So that's cool that you were in that. I have that on DVD. I'm gonna go look it up. I want to see it.
Yeah.
Some other ones that there were, and hey, if you got a memory of it, that's great. But the big one that I noticed was Jim Thorpe All American, because I love that movie. Burt Lancaster.
I've seen it relatively recently, and it really is a good movie.
It's a very good movie.
And the memory I have of that is that they hired a running double.
Wow.
Which really offended me, because I thought I could run just as well as the next guy,
Right.
if not better.
Jeez.
But apparently they didn't want to take a chance on me stumbling and hurting my face or something, and then they couldn't shoot other scenes or something. I don't know what their reason was for hiring somebody to run for me.
Yeah.
But one of the issues or one of the plot themes of that was that Jim Thorpe didn't like school apparently very much, and
right.
And so the scene was that I was taken to school on this buckboard and then ran back and beat the buckboard.
I remember the scene, by the way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I just had a couple of scenes in it, but and I never met
Burt Lancaster.
Burt Lancaster, because I was playing Burt Lancaster.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we never touched base with each other, but yeah, that the only thing I remember about that was that I was pissed off that I didn't get to run.
Did you, were you familiar at that time who Jim Thorpe was?
No.
Yeah. No, funny. Yeah. The other one was, oh God, what was it? Oh, Father is a Bachelor with William Holden. Any memory of that one?
Yeah, I do have I have a memory of having a scene with William Holden on a kind of a levee thing that went out into the water. And I remember it as being kind of a good scene. Like we went back and forth, and it was like a couple of pages or something.
Wow.
And then when I got the movie, that scene wasn't in it, and I'm wondering if I imagined it, and or if it got cut out for some reason or other.
Could have got cut.
Yeah, could have.
Yeah.
But yeah, I played Feb in that, because all the kids were named after months. There was Jan and Feb, and and another thing I remember about that movie was that my character was supposed to play the harmonica, and they had this guy. Oh gosh, I wonder if I can remember his name. Alter, or no. Anyway, he was a concert harmonicist,
Yeah.
I didn't know there was such a thing,
I
but
didn't either, by the way,
apparently there
now,
is.
I just learned.
And he was the one that told me how to hold it and how to fake doing it and where my mouth was supposed to go. I never really learned the song. The song was Mozart. Oh gosh, what's the name of the darn thing?
I know it, but I couldn't tell you the name of that. Yeah.
Oh, I forget what there's a name for it. But,
No, I know, but it's famous. That's
Yeah,
what you just
yeah.
said, without a doubt. To continue the interview with Billy Gray, just go to the next episode of That's Classic. Billy continues to talk about his career and things that have gone up and things that have gone down. Enjoy.